I am your host, Carrie Scollin, giving us different perspectives on where we are and where we want to go on our journey. Thanks for being here, and I look forward to spending some time with you. Hi, everybody. It's Carrie. Welcome to another session of the FoundHer Series on YouTube and podcast. I have a guest today that I really believe comes from the heart, has so much to offer, and is behind the scenes. And I wanted to bring her forward a little bit to showcase her and what she does behind the scenes. She is a COO, Marti, with Dr. Jody Carrington. And so there's a lot that happens behind the scenes that I would love to talk about, but I wanted to bring her on just as a person who I admire, for what she puts out there and what she brings. And so I would like to introduce you to Marti Pillar. Thank you, Marti, so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And my introductions usually aren't very good because there's usually there's so much more to the guests, and I can't really get it out. But I love that you are somebody that engages alongside of Dr. Jody, but I also love that you're a mom of three, that you are doing something that you love to do, which a lot of us aspire to find that thing. And that you're very open as well, that it might be your purpose and your passion, but there's also another side to that, that it's not all rainbows every single day either when you do find that thing that you love.
That's right. Yeah, I think all of us but I think once you feel like you've found your passion and your purpose, that life's going to be easy, that it's just going to go, and you never have to work a day in your life if you found your purpose and your passion, and that's true like 85% of the time, but you also are 75%. You also have to know that it takes a lot of work to still get there and to maintain it. And there's going to be bad days. There's going to be hard conversations. There's going to be a lot of things that you didn't expect that you're going to have to go through as well. And I do really believe that, yeah, I'm doing what I love. I love what I do. I get to travel around and meet people who are incredible and doing amazing work and spread a message that I truly believe in, that connecting with humans is really what's going to get us all through so much in this world, so many bad times. You just need another human there with you, even if they're not saying anything or giving you any advice. So that you just need somebody there. Yes. I truly believe that. But yeah, that's not to say that there isn't hard days in what we do. And yeah.
So before you did this, give me a little bit of background of what you were doing beforehand.
Sure.
And I know for somebody myself who has three kids, there was a long time that I was really searching for my purpose.
Yes.
Yes.
And so before I had kids, I worked at the Alberta Securities Commission, and I worked in investigations. So I was an executive assistant there, and we investigated stock fraud and market manipulation and all those type of things. It was super interesting. I loved it. It was in Calgary, and I currently live in Olds. So once I had kids, I actually had my kids 1 year apart. So by the time I was supposed to go back from mat leave, I was already well into my next pregnancy. So I didn't go back. And I actually didn't work for 8 years. I was lucky enough that I got to stay home with my kids until my oldest was 8. And then I met Jody at a hockey rink, and I was managing our hockey team, and she was like, I need someone like you. And I was like, okay. So my youngest was 3 still. Yeah. So I started just 2 mornings a week going in and invoicing and booking clients and that kind of thing, with Tommy with me under my desk usually, as lots of moms do. Yep. And then it just got busier and busier, and Jody and I started having these dreams of, once because her twins are the same age as my youngest.
Okay.
Once they're in kindergarten, we'll get on the road more. Once they're in school full time, we'll be on the road even more. And that is what happened. And through and I did. I didn't find my purpose and my passion right away when I started working because well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I love helping people organize and stuff. That's also a big love of mine. So I really did still love what I was doing. And then it kind of manifested as many of our dreams do. I don't think you have the same dream your whole life. I think it changes as you go.
I think our purpose changes too.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Where I thought it was I was here for one thing. And what was that one thing? And I was searching. And the more I searched, the more I realized I've been in my purpose all the way along. I just didn't recognize that.
Yes.
So
100%. And then once you realize that, then I think it changes as well.
Yeah.
So I think once you realize, okay, this is my purpose, but then it changes a little bit because you change, because the things around you change. So I think you just always have to be open to your purpose and your passion and your dreams to change. You have to be open to that because if you're not, you're going to miss it.
Yeah. And it's also the people that you're surrounding yourself with as well, I think made a big difference. And I want to go back to that, the part where you said that you started dreaming again. I think that is also somewhere that we get a bit stuck in.
Yes.
And I'm speaking for myself. And I kind of forgot how to dream when I was in the thick of it. And I really had to open myself up to that again. I also had to ask myself the question of what really makes me happy, because I had forgotten that too. So I was a stay-at-home mom with 3. My husband moved around a lot. That's why I didn't go back to work. But I looking back now, there was a part of me that really did want to work because I was missing something being at home. But I had guilt around that because here so many people would have loved to have stayed at home. Here I am doing it and wishing I was working. So I believe that we all need everybody in our circle. We need the moms that stay at home and love it. We need the moms that love working and go to work. We need a balance because we all help each other in that.
Yes.
And I just found that I was trying to figure out what made me happy, what my purpose was. And then I started to, just like you said, kind of open up to that. When I started to see what made me happy, then I went a little bit further in that. And I believe that there's a curiosity that we need to bring back to help us dream again. So you're able to do that in your work, which is fantastic. But you also have another side that isn't work. So while you're raising your kids and your husband, you've got that side too. What do you dream for them? Like you have for your life with your family. I mean, maybe you intersect a lot. Maybe you are able to do a lot in both areas that's fulfilling you, because fulfillment is a big, big piece that I think also a lot of us are searching for.
Yes, I think that's very true. And I think what I want for them and what we plan every year is we plan a big trip every July. So for 3 to 4 weeks, we are together that whole time. And it's super important for my husband and I because I don't know if everybody's like this, but I think a lot of people are. That first week when you're away, you don't really sink into each other. We don't. It takes a while for us to come down. So then we really have a couple weeks of solid sinking into one another. And then we always make sure in July, people think we're crazy because lots of times we went to Hawaii for 3 weeks or we've done like hot vacations, but it's because it's really the time that works for us. It's the slow time for Jody and I. It's a slow time for my husband. And the kids are out of school. So it just makes sense. And then we always take those 2 weeks. We take 2 weeks at Christmas and we just we went away sometimes, but sometimes too, we just stay. So we always have every 6 months a time to really look forward to. The rest of the time we're going like crazy.
Yeah.
And so what I really want for them is to make epic memories.
I love
And
that.
we can also make those staying at home. And
Yeah.
that's why at Christmas time and stuff we do. We just really stay at home and sink in. The rest of the year, we don't really make it a huge priority because, my kids are 15, 13, and 11.
Yeah.
So,
You're busy.
we're in hockey and volleyball and school and all these different activities. So we don't really have that time. So we just make sure we have those 2 solid times, whether we're staying at home for a staycation or going to our family cabin or going on an epic trip. We as a family really look forward to those. And that's where a lot of our core memories are made. And yeah.
Your kids will never forget that. I know with ours, I always thought it was so funny because we booked a Disneyland trip, Hawaii, we've gone to Europe with them. That was kind of our dream too, is we just wanted our girls to have a bigger picture, that there's a big world out there. We wanted to give them the bug for traveling and seeing what else is available to them. And when we talk to our girls, so ours are 23, 22, and 20, and some of their favorite memories of our childhood is camping.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I love that because it was probably the least expensive thing that we did. Yeah. We planned all these trips, but it's the core memories of having us to themselves.
Yes.
And I think they'd be happy in a hotel room just to be able to sleep in the same room with us.
100%. And that is what we do. Like even the first few weeks of COVID, we all moved our bedrooms to the basement. So we all lived in the same room. We decided to get our hardwood floors redone upstairs. We thought this is like an off story, but I'm going to tell it because it's funny. But we thought our youngest had very bad allergies. He was consistently snotty. Like he had halitosis. Like even as teachers, like he was in kindergarten, they were like, whoa, like his breath. And I was like, I know. And like he brushes his teeth constantly and so we went on and on. So the beginning of COVID, we were going to get hardwood floors put in on our upper floor, take out all the carpets because the folks before us had multiple dogs and cats. Mm-hmm. And so we had gotten our ducting and everything cleaned and had the carpets cleaned and stuff. But we're like, let's pull them out. Let's try to fix this. And so we did. And while we were in that process, all living in the basement together, which ended up being like 6 months, not because the floors didn't get done quickly, but because we loved it, because it was like camping.
Yes.
Right. Exactly what you're saying. Yeah. But our youngest then went to the washroom one night and was blowing his nose. And we're like, okay, Tom, like what's going on? Yeah. You're going to, stop. And he was like, I have something's poking me. And we were like, what? And he's like, whoa, came out and he's like, oh, there's something in my nose. And you're like, what? And so we went in and it was a Buzz Lightyear Band-Aid, which we hadn't had in like 3 years. What? So it was lodged in there because we had taken him to doctors and everything at this point because of the smell and he was always snotty. And she's like, it smells like there's an infection, like there's something up there. And I was like, I know. So we had x-rays and everything. Nothing showed up because it was a bandage. And so it came out and he was like, I can breathe. Oh. And like, it was like the best thing that ever happened to us. Like a weird side story. But be careful if your kids ever have like a bandage on their thumb and it goes, or finger, and it goes missing because maybe they had picked their nose at one point and it got lodged up there.
I've heard one similar story to that, and it was like a little piece of a sponge. But for some reason it got lodged up there, and it was the same. She had such horrible breath. Like nobody could be around her.
No.
And then oh my gosh.
They can't find it on x-rays because it doesn't pick that up. Right. It'll pick up peanuts and beads and all different kinds of things, but like not. Yeah. Well, anyway, that went way off topic. I'm sorry, but
no, that's okay. But that was
to be
COVID experience. So that was a really good thing that came out of COVID.
Yeah. but it was like camping in our basement. Like we had
Yes.
all these mattresses in one room
Yep.
and it was awesome.
I I
It
I
was so
think
good.
it's such a great reminder. Again, hindsight, whatever. I was so rigid with our girls for that kind of stuff
Mhm.
until we went camping or
Oh
until we
yeah.
went on a holiday. And I was more lax on everything. And I think that may also be another reason why they love those memories so much, because
Yeah.
otherwise I just felt like I was constantly in mom mode
Hmm.
and I was always correcting. I was always teaching. And I was just like, oh my God, I can't even stand the sound of my own voice. I can't imagine what these
Yeah.
kids feel like. And
Yeah.
if I could go back, I would change that and have more fun in those areas, right? I was just, bedtime was bedtime. I was extremely strict on that,
Hmm.
but I was strict on it because I needed the break.
Yeah. And the
So,
rest.
and the rest. And I knew how important sleep was for kids.
Hmm.
But I look at that now and I'm like, yeah, those were their favorite memories because we were present for one thing.
Yeah. Well,
And
yeah, and that is why I always feel like I need to, like you said, camping or get away like to our family cabin or
yeah,
because also when I'm at my home, I'm constantly busybodying,
yeah,
cleaning or
yes,
oh, I need to wash all the sheets or I need to do
yes,
this and
yeah,
um getting away from that environment. And I know not everybody has that luxury and I know
right,
that's a luxury. Um and shutting that off is hard.
yeah.
At Christmas, I allow myself for some reason to do that though.
Oh,
Like,
I wish everybody could give themselves that
I know,
bit of
like that week
freedom.
before when people say they get, or between when they get lost, I do. I lose all my, you know, everything has to be clean. Like that
Right.
week between is like such
It's
a
just
sacred
free for
time for
all.
me. It's
Yes,
a free for all.
it is.
Yeah, yeah,
That's incredible. And I just keep thinking that though that's what the kids are going to remember. Like
yeah,
mom was happiest when?
yeah,
When was mom happiest? I think the camping thing for me, I know we're getting off topic, but whatever.
yeah,
Most moms are going to relate to this. So that's
yeah.
my audience. So I'm okay with that. But even for camping for me, it was because honestly, I had everything done before we went. All my
Yes,
meals were prepared. It was a sleeping bag that you made in the morning.
yeah,
It was like, so I took a lot off my plate once we got there. It was
yeah,
hectic before we got there. But once we
hmm,
got there, it was just like, I didn't have to think about everything. And
yeah,
same with holidays. I also love that you mentioned that you go for a longer time. And yes, that's a luxury. And I
yeah.
totally recognize that. My parents said that too, because they took 3 weeks,
Hmm.
usually without us.
Oh yeah, yeah,
They took us a lot of places, but
yeah,
when we got a bit older, and that's what they both said, it was like that first week they were winding down from their
hmm,
jobs. That
yeah,
second week, it was just pure bliss
hmm,
and reconnection. And then that third week was kind of like they were getting ready to go home again.
yeah,
Right. So, but they needed that extra week because if it's one week and then you go home on the second week, you're just thinking about, I've only got 3 days left, or you know what I
yes,
mean?
yeah,
So the extended is fantastic.
yeah.
I understand what you mean by
And
that.
I love that they figured that out then because
Yeah.
think about parents now, even
Yeah.
like my parents' email came in, my dad's last 15 years of work, let alone texting and all that kind of stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's so much easier for people from work to get a hold of us now.
Yes.
And so shutting off is a lot more difficult. It has to be a conscious decision of everyone that you work with. I personally
Yes.
think like when our team would go away, I'd be like, but I don't want to connect with you. So
Yeah.
please tell me everything you need done because I don't, because they're like, you can just reach out because they're awesome. You
Yeah.
can just reach out and I can help you. And I'm like, no, like you
Yeah.
need to shut off. I know
Yeah.
I need to shut off. I know you need to shut off.
And what a
So,
great environment that everybody
right?
feels that way, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I think
Absolutely.
that's super important. And I
Yeah.
think that because it needs to be a conscious decision now because it's so easy to just click
Yeah.
send
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
but it
How are
we
you? How are you for that during the week with your phone and your social media?
good
How is that for you?
question. Um, social media is easy for me. I can shut that off.
Yeah.
That's easy for me. I'm not a huge social media gal.
Good. Okay.
But yeah, phone is hard. I'll go in spurts. I really feel like I don't stress about it if I can't get to it on weekends and evenings.
Okay.
So that's nice. But then I'll get into a groove like, oh, I should do this. And then I'll send 15 emails at night. I'm like, dang it. Yeah. Boundaries, Marti. You shouldn't be. Then these people feel like they have to respond to me. Like that's also the other thing is like, I feel what's better for me is if I stop and think about bothering that person.
The other person.
Like, don't do it, right? Because then they feel like they have to respond. So no, if I set that boundary for myself and some folks I work with, Jody's talent agency, a lot of them will schedule their email. They might write it at night, but they'll schedule it for the next morning to send at 9 a.m. And I'm like, I have to get better at that because
that's a great idea.
Brilliant. Yes. Because then you're not bothering someone. They're not getting a buzz, feeling like they have to respond right away. So yeah, I was like, I need to get better at that because that's a great idea. Or just not doing it till the next morning.
Right. Or the scheduling sounds great actually. So I would love to get into the area of, I know that when you talked about working in the way that you do, it was really, really important for you because you do feel like you're helping change people's lives little by little, the connection and kindness. So kindness and connection seem to be two of your very, heart-centered
core values,
which I love, which I think is such a beautiful vision. If that's where you're leading from, what a beautiful thing to put out there. Yeah. So are you also able to, like you just mentioned, when we think about the other people, that's what motivates us to keep doing it because we see what they're getting. We make it about other people, not about us. But do you turn that back onto yourself? Do you give yourself that same kindness and allow that for yourself? Because I think sometimes we are freer to give it than to receive it ourselves. So
100%. I'm working on that. I think that is going to be a constant work for myself forever. Yeah. I'm not good at that. I'm not super kind to myself. I pressure myself, I guess. And a lot of us do. Yeah. I think that this is definitely a learning for me. I just finished reading Codependent No More. And I enjoyed that book a lot, Melody B. And it really opened my eyes to not boundarying yourself and not being kind to yourself is also doing that to others is not helping others. So it opened my eyes in the fact that if I'm kind to myself, I can be kinder to other people, which I've always known, but sometimes you just need to hear it at a certain time, read it a certain way, Absolutely. So I think that's really been resonating with me, is in order for me to be kind to all the people, I have to be more kind to myself and that's with boundaries too, right? If you're a boundaried person, it's better for you to give away to other people because you have your boundaries. You're not feeling resentment. You're not feeling guilt even. And so if you set your boundaries and stick to them, you'll be a better person because of it for other people. Yes. Even if you have the guilt of saying no to someone, you'll be better for it. Yes.
100%. And that is in all areas of our lives. I remember even with the kids where, I was very strict on bedtime, but I knew it was better for them. Yeah. But it's also good for me. Yes. And as moms and women, I'm sure there's a lot of men like this too. I don't want to exclude them, but it's so much easier for us to be kind to ourselves when we know it benefits other people.
Yes. Isn't that so?
It's so true.
It's so true. but also not a bad thing.
Yes,
Like, you
exactly.
know what? If that's
Yeah.
going to drive you, let
Yes.
it,
Yes.
right? There's a lot less, or there's a lot worse things in the world. So,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
but
I,
it's so funny.
I think that was probably one of my, I'm 50, turning 55. I think that was one of my biggest lessons that I realized was I turned that around on myself.
Mhm.
And I saw how unkind I was to myself. So I ask you that question more to bring it to the forefront of awareness because I want everybody to be kinder to themselves.
Mhm.
Most of us are already kind to other people
Yeah.
that are in my circle anyways.
Yeah.
I'm surrounded by kind, beautiful people, but I also see that they don't turn that in. And I was just listening to a Mel Robbins podcast,
Mhm.
and I have to share this because it was just so fantastic. She said, and it was about happiness that she was talking about. So similar. I mean, it can work with anything, but she said that it's like there's two doors, and what door are you coming from? So there's a door that is like, think of a big bank vault door, right? It's heavy and it's big and it's open. You let something in and then you close it. You lock it up.
Mhm.
So we're not allowing the receiving. We're giving,
Mhm.
but we're not allowing the receiving. We close it off before that. Then she talked about, the saloon doors that go in and
Mhm.
out.
Mhm.
And we had
Yeah.
those in our house growing up through our kitchen. So
I love it. Yeah.
it was such a great visual for me. But she
Yeah.
said that's how we need to be with happiness is it opens and it's just a complete flow through, I guess is probably the best way I would describe it. And the kindness thing to ourselves, that's what made me think of that. It's like picture the
Mhm.
saloon doors. You're kind to others, you're kind to yourself. You
Yeah.
receive, you give, you receive. And I just thought I like a metaphor like that because I'm a very visual person.
Yeah.
But the kindness piece, I think that really works for that as well. And
Yeah.
the
I
more
love
we can
that.
do.
Yeah. And I thank you for bringing it up because it always needs to be in the forefront. I
Yes,
need to be reminded of that daily.
yes.
Um, because a lot of times, yeah,
We're so hard on ourselves, right?
yes,
So hard on
yes,
ourselves. And I believe I'm talking about that more and more because I do have three daughters. And again, it could be for sons too. I don't have sons. So
yeah,
all of us can benefit from we've I think culturally it's been said that it's like a selfish thing to do is to take care of yourself.
right.
So it's got such a negative connotation to it, but there's so much good that comes from how we treat ourselves,
Yes.
how we speak to ourselves. It's everything. It's giving ourselves a break and not having the guilt. And like you said, setting the boundaries.
Yeah.
I also love how you said that it's the same message over and over and over, but sometimes we're able to hear it
Yeah.
and sometimes we're not. And sometimes it's
Exactly.
just the way it's said
Hmm.
that goes, oh, that
Yeah.
was it. That's what I
Hmm.
needed.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you
Yeah.
acknowledging that
I really loved
we
it
all
because
have,
she really drilled home how we think we're helping people
right,
when you're a codependent. We think
right.
that we're helping them, but we're not.
Yeah,
And so then that really made me step back and be
yeah,
like, okay, I have to rethink the way that I'm doing. Yeah, it was just
yeah.
really good. And,
Great
and
reminder.
it's truly, yeah, you just have to hear it a certain way
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah,
And you have to be able to receive it. That's the biggest thing. You could
yeah.
hear it yesterday and today, and it could be totally different.
That's right. Absolutely. And receiving is something that a lot of us are very, very hard
Mhm.
um, at what's the word?
Doing,
It's some yeah,
receiving,
doing. I mean, we
receiving.
are we are born receivers.
Yeah,
We have a vessel to receive.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, that is part of our makeup,
Mhm.
and it's one of the hardest things women have
Yeah.
to receive. Even receiving a compliment,
Oh,
receiving,
yeah.
like there's so much that we could go into.
Yes.
And I love bringing it up also because I think it starts a conversation
Hmm.
that allows other women to go, oh, yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
And then
And
maybe
just
they'll
that
talk to their,
reminder, just
yes,
that reminder.
they'll talk to their friends and go, "Oh my gosh, it's like I got hit in the forehead today when someone said, 'How kind are you to yourself?'"
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
want to look at that. We don't want to
Yeah.
look. We want to look how kind we are to other people. So
Yeah. And I
I
know, and
appreciate
I love,
bringing it up.
like when you said receiving help is also so hard. And why is that so hard? Because how good do you feel when you get to help someone? So
When
think
someone
about it
asks,
that way. Like if I let somebody help me, I'm
yeah,
actually helping them.
yes, yes,
It's like
you're
like
allowing
how
them to feel like they're contributing when you
yes.
ask for help, and I mean, again, it's like that reversal. It's like
Yeah.
they actually feel good when they can help me.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
that makes us want to do it more.
I know. It's just bizarre. It's bizarre.
It is. It is. I love that. So I'll probably wrap it up in a
Okay.
way of because we've talked a lot about, well, I could talk to you all day. So
I know.
again,
End the conversation.
there might be another session.
Yeah.
So as far as your kind of, what would I say, how do you keep yourself healthy and focused and connected? What would be some of the things that you do? Because I love to give people ideas from others, because sometimes we just need I'm gonna start that. I never even thought about that. Or
Yeah.
I mean, we all know that there's exercise, and
Hmm.
for me, I need to drink more water. I know that. I read it. It's
Yeah.
everywhere, and I still don't do it.
Yeah.
Most of us know what we need, but we don't do it. But what are there things and practices that you are kind of non-negotiables for you?
Yes. For me, habitual and non-negotiables, I need sleep.
Mm.
I am like a 9:30 in bed girl
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
If it's later, I need to sleep in more. It's a
Mm.
non-negotiable. Even when we're traveling banana hours, like I can do oh my God, red eyes and stuff on planes because I sleep like a log on planes.
Yeah.
And every time we're on a plane, I sleep, I don't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And another non-negotiable for me is reading before bed.
Mm.
It's like uh, if I forget a book, which rarely happens, like
Yeah.
once a year, I have to buy one.
Yeah.
It's so crazy because it's something I have to do before bed because it shuts my brain off and
Yeah.
allows me to sleep.
Yeah.
So those are the two things that are habitual that I
Will not.
can't do without is reading
Yeah.
before bed and a good sleep.
Love it.
If I don't get a good sleep, I can handle it for a day or two,
Yeah.
but then I go off the rails. I have like debilitating anxiety disorder, and I've worked on it a lot and stuff, but I know if I'm on like so much of no sleep,
Yeah.
it can creep in. I have to stay on top of it.
Mhm.
So yeah, those are and like my family knows that, my friends know that,
Yeah.
my Jody knows that. Like
Yeah.
I have to do that to stay healthy, and I'm okay with that.
Yes. And a great point is the people around you know that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so they can help support you in that,
Hmm. Yeah.
or be a little more patient with you in that.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And that's another great way of seeing that you need to ask for support in areas that they may not know how to support you. So it's not an excuse. It's like, hey,
No.
I
Yeah.
need some help here, and you be willing to receive it.
Yeah. And I always like my friends, and it's one of those things that we feel guilty about saying no to going to something and stuff. But lots of times it's JOMO for me. Like it's the joy of missing out. Like
Yeah.
I know I'm going to feel good tomorrow because I got my sleep. I know all these different things. So I really weigh that on it too. Like, yeah.
I mean, what a great message to put out there is don't feel guilty
No.
for knowing what you want and what
You
is
need.
going to benefit you, right?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
that. Like so many people
Yeah.
need to do that. I'm one of them. So
Yeah.
I'm not judging anybody. It's just something, what a gift you give yourself by even acknowledging that, hey, you know what? This is what I need.
Yeah.
Non-negotiable for me.
Yeah.
And if I don't get that, this is what happens. So
Yeah.
either help me
Yeah.
get that
Mhm.
or be
I
prepared.
know I know I could be super productive on a plane if I pulled out my laptop and stuff all the time. But I also know I'm changing time zones every other week or like every week. So I also know I need that rest in order to be able to function well.
Yeah.
So, Jody and I both do that, to be honest with you. We rarely pull out our computers on the plane
Yeah.
because like when you're changing time zones and flying at all hours of the day and night, we give ourselves that. And it's really great.
Yeah. It is. It is great. It is really great because it's showing that you're not putting yourself second in that.
No.
And to get on a plane knowing I have
Yeah.
5 hours where I can sleep and not even do anything.
Yes.
Like that's a gift in itself. It's all
It
how you're
is a
looking at
gift.
it, right?
Yes, that is how we look at it,
Yeah.
is we get to sit there for 5 hours. People always make fun of us because Jody always posts pictures of her and I sitting on with like not beside each other, but
Yes.
one in front of the other.
I've
But
seen
it's
that.
because then we can sleep because we have that extra space on a window
Yep.
that we can rest way better than if somebody's in the middle.
Yes.
And neither of us like the aisle. So that's it. We do it for ourselves.
Yeah.
We both need that. And yeah, so people are always like, why do you do that? Well, so we can rest. Like that is plain and simple what it is.
and just the awareness around that. Like
Yes.
I think that's one of the biggest things that I teach is we need to be aware of it before we can change it.
Yes.
Or, implement it. So what are you aware of? You know what you need and you take it with there's no apologizing for that. This is what I need. This is what I'm doing. Like it or love it. Hate me. Don't like it. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
As long as it's the best thing for you, because then that's the reciprocal thing. You're way better rested when you get to where you're going. So you can show up and be present for the people that you're going to help.
Exactly.
It's beautiful.
Exactly.
It's just
Plus, then Jody and I always get two seatmates that we get to chat with, two separate seatmates, right?
Yeah.
So we get to connect with different people before we read and fall asleep. And so it's pretty great. We also love that side of it. We're like, who did you sit with today?
Yes.
And what do they do? And so we always love that too. We've met some amazing people on airplanes.
Yes.
So that's some of our best connections and craziest ones. So it's pretty awesome.
Those I think are the best. It's the stories, which is really my foundation is listening and honoring people's stories, especially when they're offering to share a piece of them with you. And that's where FoundHer came from, really was on this search to finding myself. I started to listen to other people and their stories. And it all just kind of came together. And it was, I'll tell you a quick story of how that came to be. Years and years and years and years ago. I don't even know if I was 10 or I was 12, but my parents watched the news faithfully. 6:00 every night. The news comes on, still does. That's how we grew up. Yeah. But there was a news reporter who would go to small towns. I think they were small towns. And he would go to the phone book, open the phone book, pick a name. He'd phone them on a payphone and ask them if they would tell him their story. And most of them were like, I got nothing. Like, you don't want to hear my story. I don't have anything. Well, do you mind if I just come for coffee? And we'll just talk and we'll see. Those were the best stories. Like he would sit down at the kitchen table with a complete stranger. They don't think their story matters. Yeah. But their story was beautiful and heartbreaking. And it was like every single one of us has a story in us. And that planted the seed for me that long ago, like 45 years ago. Yeah. I will, and my memory is horrible, by the way. Like, don't ask me what I had for dinner last night. But that one stuck with me. And so to bring it back around to our purpose, I think we are shown a lot of little things along the way. And sometimes when we can take the time to look back, it was like, oh, that's where that seed was planted of my desire to share people's stories.
Oh yeah, I love that. I love that. I wish I would have seen that segment because that's exactly like doing the podcast with Jody.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing because
Yes.
I get to know these people. Like most of them, I read their books and
Yeah.
then I get to, you know, chat with them, getting everything set up. And then I get to go through the recording process. And it's just like, I love people's stories
Me too.
because
Me
people
too.
are incredible.
They are.
Like people,
And
I
most
love
of them,
people.
yeah. And maybe that's what it is. Cause I do too. I just think people are fascinating
Yeah.
and they don't think that they have something to share.
Yeah.
And it's like, you do.
Yeah.
If you
And I
really,
love learning from people. And
yes.
that's goes back partly to the travel with the kids. I love when they get to see a different culture and learn a different anything.
Yeah.
And I think there's so much empathy building when you do that because you're learning different people's struggles and ways of life. And then you're more open to opening your heart to folks. And I love that. I love it so much. When you see somebody who might be struggling and then they tell you a little bit of a story, or somebody who doesn't look like they're struggling.
Yeah.
And then they come and talk to you and tell you their story. And I'm like, oh my God,
Yes.
you are so good at masking this. And wow. Like,
so true.
It's phenomenal. I love it. I love it.
And it is an honor for them to share that.
It is an honor.
Like to be on the other side of that, I feel like, how did I get so lucky that this person is willing to share this with me? And I get to honor them by listening. It's one of my favorite things. We talk about what fulfills us.
I know. And that is like, yes. And I like when you said I'm the background, or like you didn't say that. I'm going to say that. I'm the background to Jody. Like she loves being on stage and I love the being off to the side and people coming up and chatting.
Yes.
That fills my whole soul. I love that.
Yeah. And that's why you can work so well together because your strength is there and hers is there and you combine it and you pull out the best in each other and support each other on what strengths you both bring to the table. So
yes,
it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
I think that you are as well. I felt that the first time that we spoke. And that's why I wanted to have you on here because I wanted to give you a little bit of the spotlight because you have so much to share too. And it's just the way that, personally, I think it's the way that you are being because you're being you and it's beautiful. So I want to thank you so much for sharing and I've loved our conversation. So I'm looking forward to everyone else hearing that and seeing what they take out of it because everybody will take a little something different.
Yeah.
If they walk away with just be more kind to yourself, I'm thrilled.
I know. Me too.
Yeah, that's all I'm looking for. So thank you so much, Marti. Thank you everybody for listening. And follow Dr. Jody and Marti on their travels because they're funny.
On our journey.
They're very funny. So I love it. So thanks everyone for being here. Thank you, Marti. And we will see you all next week.